you ever hear about a gold-plated bed with lion legs, made 3,000 years ago? Mind you, this wasn't used as a king's throne, not for a war either. It was simply for naps. That's right. And this was one of the many ways the ancient Egyptian elite got the best sleep of all time. Yeah, ancient Egyptian elites slept like gods. Their sleep setups were cleaner, cooler, and maybe smarter than ours today. But still, how on earth did people in the desert, with no AC, no pillows, and no modern medicine, manage to hack sleep better than we do now? Indeed, wealthy ancient Egyptians had sleep setups that would put most of the pre-modern world to shame. Their beds weren't simple slats or straw mats. No, those were for the rest of the population, especially on hot rooftops in summer. From early dynasties, the elite slept on raised wooden frames, with legs often carved to look like animals, and woven flax or leather straps as support. And by the New Kingdom, beds became a lot fancier. Think imported ebony, gold overlays, lion head legs. These beds tilted up slightly at the head and had footboards, but no headboards. Instead, they used the famous Egyptian headrest. This was basically a curved block of wood or ivory that held your head. Sure, it sounds hard to us now, but it made sense back then. You see, elevating your head let cooling desert air flow under your neck, while lifting the entire frame kept creepy insects away. It also saved their elaborate hairstyles and wigs from getting flattened. After all, hard pillow or soft, they didn't want their hairdo ruined overnight. So, what seems like a simple wooden stand was actually a clever sleep tool. Comfort, cleanliness, and style wrapped into one. Some elites even padded them. For instance, in the tomb of the architect Ka, they found a quilted headrest cover, along with sheets and a fringed bedspread. So yes, they did soften it up. In noble villas and palaces, beds were in private, well-ventilated spaces. At sites like Amarna, homes had high ceilings, inner courtyards, even pools to cool things down. At night, servants would draw linen drapes or hang canopies around the bed for draft protection, pest protection, and style points. Queen Meresank III's 4th Dynasty tomb scene shows a canopy over her lion-legged bed, possibly one of the earliest mosquito nets, aiming for a good night's sleep. Furthermore, rich households curated the air itself. Incense, scented oils, and floral touches turned sleeping spaces into something closer to a spa. One standout was kaifi. Also known as kapet, it was a slow-burning incense blend made with resins, herbs, wine, and honey. Now, aside from temples, texts show it was also burned in homes, especially in the evening. Plutarch, who admittedly wasn't Egyptian but had opinions, said kaifi could lull to sleep, allay anxieties, and brighten dreams. Bit of a glowing review, but honestly, who doesn't want their dreams brightened? Frankincense and myrrh were also common. Burning them not only smelled good, but it also cleared the air and created a kind of sacred calm. Chamomile, too, was used for colicky infants. It is a gentle sedative after all. Then there was the blue lotus. That flower you see everywhere in Egyptian art had mild sedative and even euphoric effects. So placing it in bedrooms wasn't just for looks. In fact, it was used at banquets and in rituals, relaxing the body, lifting the mood, and maybe helping with a dream or two. Now there's hardly any evidence of harpists gently strumming in the background while they dozed off. But one thing's for sure, the ancient Egyptian elite paid attention to every detail: texture, scent, sound, and light. And underneath all this comfort was something deeper. You see, for the Egyptians, sleep was a spiritual journey. They saw it as a temporary death. So, each night, your ba, the soul, left your body and traveled into the unseen world. And each morning was a rebirth. Even their word for awakening, yars, was tied to the word for headrest, rus. And that shape, that curve, it represented the symbol for the horizon, Akhet, where the sun rises each day. So, yeah, the bed became a sacred space for the body and for the soul. That's why headrests and beds for the wealthy were decorated, inscribed, and protected. Even more, apotropaic symbols, which were essentially magical safeguards, were carved into the furniture. The household god Bes, who was short and fierce with a lion face, shows up a lot. He was the go-to for scaring off evil spirits, especially during sleep or childbirth, moments when you were vulnerable. Taweret, too, the hippo goddess with crocodile tail and lion paws. She often joined the scene. Take Tutankhamun's bed. It was gilded, gorgeous, and guarded by both Bes and Taweret, right there on the footboard. Another headrest, owned by the artisan Kenihakepeshef, has images of Bes carved into the base, along with prayers for protection. After all, these people wanted backup while they slept. Some even kept amulets under their pillows, or wore charms at night. Now, to the ancient Egyptians, dreams were spiritual signals. The elites believed dreams were messages from gods or ancestors, real-time divine mail. They even recorded dreams and their meanings on papyrus. The Dream Book, or Papyrus Chester Beatty No. 3, around 1275 BC, lists hundreds of dreams, and they were marked good or bad. For instance, sunrise in dreams was a thumbs up. Crocodile meat? Better watch out. Then there was dream incubation, which was next level. You see, when illness struck or big questions needed answers, people slept in temples. A Ramesside stele tells the tale of Prince Kayamwaset's wife. She slept in Meretsega's temple, praying for a child, and got her answer in a dream. Another woman did the same with Sekhmet, with healing advice, courtesy of a night's sleep. In Thebes, locals would stay overnight in shrines, hoping the cobra goddess Meretsega would send a cure or guidance in their dreams. They believed fever, headaches, insomnia, and even blindness could be healed while you slept under divine care. Think of it as spiritual therapy through bedtime. However, not everyone could do it. Only the wealthy or connected had access to these dream rituals. Now, ancient Egyptians also used early versions of what we'd call sleep aids today. This was a mixture of plants, scents, and clever furniture. For example, the Ebers Papyrus from around 1550 BC lists remedies for insomnia and anxiety. Poppy extract, basically opium, was prescribed for anxious sleepers. It calmed crying babies and helped adults drift off. Now that's some early hypnotic drug use. Ancient Egypt was probably the first to explore chemical sleep aids. Even Greeks in Egypt noted it. Opium was basically the go-to for sleepless nights. Then there's mandrake. Ancient art shows its fruit and root. It was linked to Hathor and love potions. It was also used for pain and sleep, as it's packed with alkaloids. Quite effective, if potent. But they didn't stop at heavy-duty drugs. Evenings often included wine or herbal brews. Wine, usually imported or estate-made, relaxed the upper class. Furthermore, mixing in blue lotus flowers was typical at banquets. You see, blue lotus contains apophene, a mild sedative. So, imagine sipping lotus-infused wine or a herby beer with hops and coriander to unwind. And it didn't end with the night. Wealthy Egyptians used daybeds or lounge beds. Think cushy couches, set in shaded courtyards or garden loggias. They treated rest as part of the day. After all, they saw sleep as something to honor, not rush. But hey, elite went all in. They even had footstools to climb up onto the bed. Basically, they turned sleep setup into an art form. And let's be honest, none of this was available to regular folks. The real reason elites slept so well was because of social status. They had privacy. They had space. They didn't share their beds with children, livestock, or whoever else happened to be nearby. A working-class home might be a single room with everyone crammed in. You slept where there was space, probably on a mat, maybe near a goat. On the other hand, upper-class homes, especially by the New Kingdom, had multiple rooms. The most private ones were tucked deep inside. They were likely used for sleeping. And the layout says a lot. There were doors, partitions, actual boundaries between day and night. And that privacy mattered. It meant fewer bugs, less noise, more airflow, and maybe most importantly, no one kicking you in the ribs at 3 a.m. Even married couples sometimes had their own beds. Ka and Meret's tomb had two, one slightly bigger and one smaller, and each had its own headrest and bedding. So, while most of the world was figuring out how to make straw less itchy, Egypt's elite were out here perfecting his and hers beds. And honestly, good for them. As for royalty, sleep came with its own floor plan. In palaces, high-ranking wives and consorts had entire suites to themselves. Ramesses III's harem complex at Medinet Habu had separate quarters for royal women, likely with their own sleeping chambers. So unless the Pharaoh called you over, your night was quiet. Now, if the night got too hot, a noble could have his bed pulled up to the rooftop or out to the garden pavilion, not just for the breeze, but with attendants on hand to swat flies, fan air, or serve chilled wine. And in the end, for the truly wealthy ancient Egyptians, everything, the house layout, the staff, and even the furniture, they all worked together to make sure that when night came, nothing got in the way of a decent rest.